So, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be in the world. We have a very special call today. My name is Jackie Boyle, and I have the absolute pleasure and honour, and it always has been, to be able to be a part of Dr. Joseph Ahrens' journey for the past decade. And it's just an absolute honour to have you here, Dr. Ahrens. So, firstly, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. I'm down here in the Bahamas right now. It's where I actually live, and weather's great. And I'm great to be here with you.
It is an honor, Dr. Ahrens. And just, I started the journey with you over a decade ago, and I was somebody that was really in need of Emulin. And I was lucky enough to be able to have a product change my life. And then that journey has gone forward to where I'm humble enough to be able to work with you and alongside you in taking this product further into other spaces throughout the world. So I want to thank you because you've certainly had a huge impact on my life. But I do want to go straight into this so we can get as much out of you today as we possibly can. So can you please let us know, Dr. Ahrens, who are you? Like, what is your career background? If you can let us know and just share with us, what has that looked like for you?
Well, I'm actually a physiologist, a plant and animal, human physiologist. I was at one time professor at UC Davis, and then um, eventually I did a lot of stuff with nutrition, food nutrition. Helped invent a lot of food products, such as peeled baby carrots. All those packaged salads that you see in the grocery stores came out of our laboratories. I eventually, well, in around 2000 or so, I became director of the Florida Department of Citrus Research Group. You know, that's the group that promotes Florida citrus worldwide. And we did some research where that was the beginning of this Emulin discovery, which I'll go into later. But I had a lot of good physiologists working with me, and eventually we decided to open a company to delve into the actual what's going on and what has now become Emulin. So that's really it. I'm a research physiologist, a clinical research physiologist, and I understand carbohydrate metabolism, inflammatory pathways, that type of thing is my specialty.
So, Dr. Ahrens, do you want to share, like, in regards? I know that Darrell Thompson was your partner when you went on that pathway in that discovery of looking for a weight loss product or initially. Can you just share with us what that looked like and what was the journey into discovering a brand new vitamin that you then were actually nominated for the science and the research behind that discovery, if you wouldn't mind, please?
Well, as I got into the Department of Citrus, the mission is to promote citrus sales. And so we noticed that every single time this silly grapefruit diet came around, it was a silly diet, drink black coffee and eat grapefruit and you lose weight. Yeah, no kidding. But every time it came out, the grapefruit sales did increase. So we got together with my fellow researchers and I said, listen, why don't we just do a study and find out one way or another what's going on? Does it really have anything to do with something that's in grapefruit itself, or is it just calorie restriction? So we actually did a great study. It was a guy who became my business partner, another biochemical researcher. He provided powdered grapefruit for us, freeze-dried powdered grapefruit, whole. And so we made up some capsules with that. And then we had grapefruit juice, and then a product, a synthetic juice that just had the same number of calories, but was nutritionally zero. And we had fresh grapefruit pieces. And so we actually shipped all of this stuff out to California at Scripps Institute. So they did the study so we could not be claimed to be biased. And it allowed us to do really placebo-controlled studies. So with a capsule, we could have just, some dextrose, cellulose in a capsule versus the ground up dehydrated grapefruit juice versus this zero drink. And this was done by Ken Fujioka. It's actually, you can look it up in PubMed. It's called grapefruit, the effect of grapefruit on obese patients. And yes, after 3 months, just by including one of these grapefruit servings, whether it's a half a grapefruit or taking capsules, indeed, people lost weight. Not only that, but their carbohydrate metabolism changed. There was something going on besides just making them feel satiety, filled up. So we thought this was great. We actually did promote it for a while, and but the powers that be at the Florida Department of Citrus didn't want to go any further with it. They said, you know, we don't want to turn grapefruit into a medicine chest. So let's just say, yeah, the grapefruit diet works and leave it at that. Well, you know, inquiring minds want to know. So my partner, Daryl Thompson, as you mentioned, we formed a company together to actually try to find out what was it in grapefruit that had this effect on carbohydrate metabolism. It actually looked like it regulated sugar metabolism in the body. It increased the insulin response. That's pretty amazing. These were patients with metabolic syndrome. So, and that's one of the key indicators, symptoms, is that they had a reduced insulin sensitivity. He had a big BMI, and so we raised some money and we got to it. And you know, I did know a little bit about carbohydrate metabolism and where the key control points were. You know, if you think about if you eat anything like bread or any food, the first thing that happens is that sugar is broken down in your mouth. The starches and the sugars, they go into sucrose and simple sugars. You can taste it. You eat a little cracker, biscuit, you know, you start tasting it. It tastes a little sweet. That's an enzyme in your mouth that is breaking down in your saliva those sugars. And then it goes into the stomach and the gut. You have to take these sugars and then absorb them in through the gut wall. That's actually a transporter, glucose transporter 2, GLUT2 we call it. And then once the sugar is in the bloodstream, another control point is getting out of the bloodstream into different organs, like your brain. Your brain lives on glucose. That's its primary food, glucose. So there's a transporter that takes sugar, simple sugars from your bloodstream into your brain and your muscles. That's glucose transporter 4. And so another control point. And then your body is always itself trying to make sugar. If you don't eat enough sugar, it makes its own sugar, believe it or not, out of fatty acids. So that's another control point that actually makes glucose out of fatty acids. So you try to lose weight and your body, you start eating less and having less sugar. Well, your body says, no, I'm not going to have this. I want to have the same amount of sugar in me I had yesterday. So it actually manufactures its own sugar. So that's another place to have a control point. And then there's where fatty acids and sugars go in and out of fat tissue. And then there's a place in your body where the fat tissue grows. That's another point. And there's also insulin sensitivity and insulin production in your pancreas, the beta cells. So there are these several steps that where you carbohydrate metabolism is regulated. And each one of these, almost every one of them, has an enzyme associated with it, just like sucrose turning into simple sugars, you know, sucrase and starch going into sugars. That's amylase, ASE on the end of a word means an enzyme. So we were looking at everything we could find in grapefruit. We did not know what it was. We started looking at the thousands of compounds that were in grapefruit and and then testing them against these various enzymes. And it took us almost 4 years, you know, to do that. 4 years of every day going in and testing and against another enzyme. We use computer programs to do most of this work. And once the computers told us, hey, this is a candidate right here, then we would take that and do an actual in vitro tests. And then once we got those down, we moved to in vivo. That means we went from computer studies to test tube studies to animal studies. And then from animal, we went to humans. That's a long process. What we learned was quite remarkable, that indeed there was natural compounds in grapefruit, and not just grapefruit, but every food that contains sugar, every food that contains sugar have these compounds in them that regulate sugar metabolism. Think about that. Like sugar cane, that's where we get most of our table sugar. Sugar cane has these same compounds. Now, they exist quite a bit in citrus, and they're particularly concentrated in dark berries, dark grapes. Dark wild blueberries is one of the best examples, and muscadine grapes, these really dark tropical grapes. A lot of these compounds. These compounds are called flavonoids. 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 They're the part of the plant that give it its color, not its flavor. I know it sounds like it should be flavonoids. Noid means body, and it seems like flav should be flavor, but it's not. It comes out of Latin, and it actually means vision, the color. So the colored parts of plants and the darker the better, have the most flavonoids. So it's not only flavonoids, but we found out these three specific flavonoids together in a certain combination have the greatest effect on carbohydrate metabolism. We got really excited. We said, okay, man, we found this. People could just eat these natural compounds, and then they would, like a diabetic. Daryl Thompson's mother was diabetic, and we thought, wow, we could give her this in a Coca-Cola, and it'd be as safe as orange juice, or put it in a cake, and it would be healthy. That was the original idea. And we thought it was, we have discovered a new vitamin. This is a vitamin, is something that's necessary. It's vital to human health, just like vitamin C and vitamin D. Both of those help with bone and calcium metabolism in your body. Everybody probably knows the story about scurvy, how vitamin C was discovered. They just found out something in citrus, particularly limes. There was something there that kept the sailors' teeth from falling out and kept their bones from being too brittle. They didn't quite know what it was, but all English sailors started eating limes every day. And that's why to this very day we call the British sailors limeys. And a lot of the people made fun of them on this crazy diet, but boy, it worked. It worked great. And now we know that it's vitamin C that does that. Well, in likewise fashion, we thought this vitamin, these flavonoids would be recognized to be essential for sugar metabolism in the body. And so with these flavonoids, you have good, normal, regular sugar metabolism. Without these sugar vitamins, these sugar chaperones, you get into dysfunctional carbohydrate metabolism, and that's what leads to things like type 2 diabetes. That's the reason that most people get diabetes, is because they are taking refined sugar, and it really upsets the carbohydrate metabolism. So that's where this started out. And we called this product Emulin at the time, Emulin, because we thought it was something that emulated insulin, emulates insulin. Kind of a clever name, but that turned out that wasn't true at all. And the more you study something, the more you find out about it, the more exciting and interesting it is. So the simple story started out, hey, we have found something in plants that's in all plants, but there's a particular combination of three of these that together in a certain ratio and concentration, they will help with carbohydrate or sugar metabolism, and everybody needs it. This is normal. Natural sugar, natural plants, fruit with high sugar, it has these flavonoids. This is why It's not appropriate to say that fruit juices are just like Kool-Aid. This is absolute nonsense. These fruit juices are loaded with flavonoids. They got the color. They're loaded with flavonoids, and they're not only safe for you, but they are an excellent health source of many more vitamins and minerals. And the sugar that is in there is regulated by these flavonoids. You strip out these flavonoids, strip out the other minerals in them, then yes, you do have leftover Kool-Aid. But you read articles about, oh, this orange juice is 30% sugar. Yes, it is, but it's also got a lot of flavonoids in it, which helps your body metabolize these sugars. Well, we went on a book tour, actually wrote a book about how good grapefruit was before we found out that it's not just grapefruit, but it's in everything. Every one of these plants, sugarcane, grapes, berries, they all have flavonoids, but we have, as I said, we found out the best three, and then at what concentration and ratio. That's really the key. That's what the IP, that's what the patents are all about. We got it patented. We did a book tour, and people kept coming up to us and saying, well, you know what? I really love this product. It's really helped me lose weight. I feel better. I wake up. I feel like I was in a fog, and after a little while on this product, I feel so much better. And then people say, yeah, I used to be diabetic and I'm no longer diabetic. I said, wait a second, this is not curing any disease. Now, remember, you're not curing any disease. What happened is these flavonoids are necessary to support your body's innate ability to digest carbohydrates. It supports insulin sensitivity. It supports insulin production. Doesn't cure any disease. Yeah, you have the disease because you're lacking some things, just like you get scurvy if you don't have the right vitamin C, but it's not a drug. It's not cure a disease or ameliorate it. But you need them in order your body to function properly. So it's excellent support. It's a true supplement. You need to supplement your diet because you cannot get enough in nature. There's just not enough anymore. You can't eat enough berries to satisfy how many flavonoids your body needs. You just can't do it. You'd have to eat, 10 kilograms a day. You couldn't do it. You spend all your time in the bathroom if you did that. So people were saying, well, you know what? My blood sugar is better. I feel better, but I want to also tell you that my psoriasis went away. Or, hey, I had arthritis and my arthritis just seemed to be gone. And I said, well, what in the world is going on there? So I went back to the lab and started looking at the effects of flavonoids. And we were not the only ones that were working on flavonoids. And, you'll see often, okay, Ahrens doesn't appear in a lot of scientific papers. Well, it's because I subbed out all of this lab work to like Scripps Institute's a really good example. They just got a little note in there. It says, thanks for the support for the Florida Department of Citrus. Or another paper might say, thanks to ATM Metabolics for support. And there are a couple of papers that you can see me there, but most of it, I just had a group of researchers and we paid laboratories like DGG Research, which is Cetera Labs. They're the ones that did our human studies. So I'll get to it in a moment. And people were saying we had these great results with these inflammatory issues like arthritis. So I got back with the researchers, the group. I said, guys, what's going on? And so they were doing research on flavonoids and said, you know what? I think this, in addition to regulating these enzymes in carbohydrate metabolism, there's got to be an effect on the inflammatory pathway. There's something going on here with the inflammatory pathway. Well, that sounded totally logical because all of the vitamins that we know of right now, they have more than one function, just like vitamin C. It's a great antioxidant, but it also is directly involved in calcium metabolism and any of the other, vitamin B and A, and they actually have 2 or 3 major functions in the body. So we were very acceptable of the concept that these flavonoids could have more than one function in the body. So we started looking into that research, and we had some papers come out that showed that yes, in particular, one of these flavonoids regulates the key capstone, the linchpin in the inflammatory pathway, the very top.
Working.
And so it was, and we found out that, you know, if you did not have enough, again, flavonoids, and you had an inflammatory issue, an inflammatory response, your inflammation would go runaway in your body, and it eventually would lead to autoimmune responses. That's what's going on with something like rheumatoid arthritis and psoriasis. You know, it's an autoimmune response. Crohn's disease, irritable bowel. These are autoimmune responses, and so your immune system is just kind of is not regulated and takes off and starts attacking its own body. So this is TNF alpha. I mean, some of you on this call might know what that is. TNF alpha, tumor necrosis factor alpha, and it is regulated by one of these flavonoids. So this is why we were seeing a great improvement in these inflammatory disorders, and people, once you give your body what it needs, your body can heal itself, and that's what's going on. Your body is healing itself. You're just supporting its good health. You're supporting your immune system. You're supporting good carbohydrate metabolism. So that was like chapter 2. Wow, now we see inflammation seems to be affected, and also carbohydrate metabolism. Let's fast forward a couple more years, and we had another chapter. There were people now coming to us and saying, well, you know, my child has these issues here with paying attention or whatever it is, and somebody would say I had Parkinson's disease, this again, it said, you know, when they're on Emulin, everything's better. And I said, okay, this is something I absolutely do not understand. How can Emulin, which affects carbohydrate metabolism and regulates inflammation, how could it have anything to do with brain chemistry? Well, just recently, very recently, I'd say within 2 years, and especially just as last week, other researchers in another group discovered that these flavonoids in general, but these particular flavonoids, they are a prebiotic. That is, they are the favorite food of the bacteria in your stomach. And most of them, when you take them, they don't go to helping your carbohydrate metabolism or helping your inflammatory pathway. They're consumed by the bacteria, and the bacteria love them. It promotes excellent gut health. Some specific species of bacteria it promotes, and others it kills them off. It promotes a good gut health. And you know, you may have been following this lately, a lot of talk about the brain gut, or the gut brain axis. The way that works is the bacteria in your stomach, when they are in a healthy environment, they are constantly releasing chemicals into the bloodstream. And these chemicals make their way to your brain, and they effectively are signals to your brain that's saying everything's okay, everything's fine. And when they get upset, or you're eating the wrong things, or you got a poison, but particularly you're eating the wrong things, they start sending out the improper chemicals. And these chemicals get to your brain, and they tell your brain, look, there's some problem. You got a problem here, and you need to move and go get different food, or locate or migrate or something. You can see how that could work out in an evolutionary standpoint. You know, your stomach is telling your brain, hey, go. You're not just hungry, but you're eating the wrong stuff. And so then at the same time, it works the other way around too. Your brain, when everything's okay, it sends signals back to the bacteria and cause them to for instance, produce more flagella, makes them more active, puts a little more tails on them. Well, this has gotten very precise, this research very precise lately. And just last week, it was discovered that these bacteria, actually, when they are healthy, actually put out a specific neurotransmitter, not just a general chemical that like affects pH, but a specific neurotransmitter. This was actually done in the journal Nature. A neurotransmitter that is a signal to the brain, and it actually is absorbed right at the gut lining, and it gets into the vagus nerve and shoots right to the brain. It doesn't even wait to go through the bloodstream. So when everything is good, people that have issues that are related to brain chemistry, their brain is much more calmer and more functioning. And when it's out of whack, out of balance, then if you're prone to some of these issues, like autism, you don't see as many symptoms. So those are the three main chapters in this long discovery now of 10, coming up on 15 years. We found out, first of all, it's primarily, we thought, now I'm not so sure which is more important. It might be all three of them are equal. Carbohydrate metabolism. And in particular, let's look at this story here a little bit longer. Refined sugar is a poison in your body. You should not be eating it. And I'll say that to anybody. Don't eat it. Refined sugar is a poison. I'll go so further to say refined starch, flour, it's also a poison. Refined, that's when you stripped out all the flavonoids and you just have the glucose and the fructose. And so wheat, white bread, and even actually so-called whole wheat bread is almost just pure sugar. It's almost pure sugar. It's glucose. It's just glucose hooked together. Yeah, white bread, sugar. It's a poison. And your body recognizes it as a poison that you should not be eating that. You should not be consuming sugar without flavonoids. You should be having natural sugar. Yeah, that's fruit sugar. Anytime, honey, these are great. They're plenty. Honey's loaded with these flavonoids. If you must take sugar, white sugar or whatever, then you should take something like Emulin to help you counterbalance that. Now, that's not a license to load up on sugar, but sugar is a poison. So in your body, when you're young, and you keep dosing your body with this poison, whatever it is, coming in a cola, coming in sweets, donuts, cakes, bread, pasta, over and over and over. Your body tries to fight it. One of the first things it does is it buries it in fat tissue, and not just because it's extra calories, but because that's where your body puts dangerous things like heavy metals and poisons. It sticks them in the fat because fat is much more inert. I mean, it's not as metabolically active. It's a good place to store poisons. This is why fatty fish are difficult for your body to eat, because they accumulate a lot of poisons in their tissues. So you've got these poisons that your body is trying to sink it into fat tissue. And after a while, it said, we don't want to process this glucose. What are we going to do? Well, then it becomes insulin insensitive. So type 2 diabetes, it's my hypothesis, and I'll never be able to prove this. I only got another 10, 20 years left here. Is type 2 diabetes is an effort to get away from this poison that you're dumping in your body. And eventually, the first thing it does is put that fat, that stuff in the fat. And then the second thing, it makes itself insensitive. So you will not process that sugar. And it's almost like in 85% of the cases, if you stop taking all this sugar, you can reverse type 2 diabetes. It's a well-known fact. And let's not pretend this. You can reverse it in almost every case. Just go on a zero-carb diet for 3 months and see what happens. And your cholesterol will drop too, without any drugs. Well, if you are in a womb, if you're a fetus,
Well, I want to be able to eat my flavonoids when I get home.
yeah, you need to. If you're a fetus in the womb and the mother is taking these drugs, these poisons, what do you think happens in that case? So that if now you've got a developing child and it's just being bathed in poison, in high blood sugar, well, then the beta cells stop functioning and stop producing insulin for the same reason. So there's a 3-step process here. If you're a fetus and if you're inclined, look, not everybody develops diabetes from taking a lot of refined sugar, just like not everybody develops lung cancer that smokes. That's not how it works. But you have a propensity to this, genetically predisposed. And so if you are in the womb and you're a developing baby, it's a good chance you're going to be born with type 1 diabetes because your body is trying to not process this sugar. So they just killed the cells that make insulin. Well, if you escape that, and you now become a teenager, and now you're still bathing your body in all these sugars, there's a chance you're going to get type 2 diabetes. And that's what we call it, adolescent onset type 2 diabetes. It's onset, it comes later. Well, if you can escape that, and most people do, but wow, it's gotten where, if you want to include pre-diabetes, which is you almost have diabetes, that means your blood sugar when you get up in the morning is running 110 and 120, and it should be 90. So we're half the population in the United States, and it's the same way in Australia and the rest of the world. Okay, you get through your whole life and you finally end up and what happens? You say you've escaped type 1, you've escaped type 2, and there's a type 3. There's a type 3 diabetes. So, it'd be a good contest on Jeopardy or something. What's type 3 diabetes? It's Alzheimer's. Just Google that if you'd like. Type 3 diabetes is Alzheimer's because it's been recognized that something to do with carbohydrate metabolism is messed up and your brain goes crazy. And there's all types of research, of course, on Alzheimer's. And actually, this is one of the reasons I got nominated for the Nobel Prize is because way back, it must be 2007 or 8, Daryl Thompson and I said, Alzheimer's is actually dysfunctional carbohydrate metabolism in the brain, and all of these bodies like tau bodies, tau proteins, beta secretase. These are just symptoms. They're not causing Alzheimer's. These are just symptoms. And nobody wanted to listen to us at the time. Well, they did listen later on, and thankfully the DARPA, the U.S. Defense Army Research Group, picked up on that research for us. And so that's type 3 diabetes. And so we've made formulas and greatly reduced symptoms of Alzheimer's. I mean, we had this guy, and again, we are not treating any diseases. This is your own body that's curing itself. It's just that you've got too much of one thing and not of another. So you get your nutrition right, and your body can heal itself. I'm not healing anything. I'm not treating Alzheimer's. I'm supporting the body's own health functions. But we had a fellow, his name Gerald, and he was the youngest player ever to hit a home run in professional baseball in the U.S. So he had a little bit of notoriety. He had gotten to in his elder age, like 80. He had forgotten. He had aphasia. He had forgotten how to talk, and so we made up a formula for him to just try on the side because we were involved in other things and we were thinking about doing something with Alzheimer's, he regained the ability to talk, and he became president of the Retired Professional Baseball Association and went around the country making speeches. I tell you, just have a good diet, people. Diet and exercise. You're going to solve 90% of your problem. Diet and exercise. And this is all we're talking about here. This is why it is a supplement, because we're supplementing what you can't get through a natural diet because you just can't get enough. You know, and I recommend everybody get some screening and find out, do you have enough vitamin D, vitamin C, B, how's your B panel doing? And, you know, all the things, iron, but also flavonoids. And just, I think it's within the last 24 months, Europe and the US came out with, for the first time, recommended levels of flavonoids. You know, we've known now for a long time that flavonoids are really important. They won't recognize them as a vitamin, but they do have a recommended minimum daily amount of flavonoids, and you're going to get those from colored fruits and vegetables. The dark stuff, the better. Potatoes, no, no.
So,
Dark grapes, yes.
Dr. Ahrens, I want to intervene because like this is just incredible, and I know that we're going to have you back on at some stage, but I wanted to, if possible, just to touch base on before we get some of these panelists that have come on board that are really keen to ask you a couple of questions. But there's one that comes to mind specifically. If you can just, in a very brief, we're not trying to compare, but can you tell us why Fix and Emulin 5 are working in synergy so well together in a short version? And then I'm going to bring on Dr. Kareem to ask a question, please.
Yeah, sure. So knowing these three things that we do now, like carbohydrate metabolism, inflammation, and this gut-brain axis, which is really has come to the forefront. We reformulated the original Emulin, which used to be just these three flavonoids, and we had a different ratio back then. That is now we know a whole lot more. We have the same three flavonoids, but we have a little bit different ratio, and we have added two things to it. One of them, vitamin C, because it's still one of the most effective antioxidants and regulator of inflammation that you can get. Vitamin C. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then the fifth one is to promote very good gut health. We chose Lactobacillus plantarum to be the one we use. You could get hundreds of them. There's thousands of them in your stomach. Different these bugs, these bacteria. There's a lot of them in there. But what you have to do is choose one that is shelf stable and also will survive going through your stomach, because your stomach's quite acidic and you want to get it into the lower intestine, small intestine, last part of the small intestine, and the large intestine. So you've got to choose one that will work. And you are constantly losing your good bacteria. You know, every time you get an antibiotic, you're wiping yourself out. You should always go get a probiotic afterwards. So this is a way to do that. So we thought, okay, these 5 things are going to optimize and work with each other. And you know, the reason that it is working so well with something like Fix is I believe that Emulin is required for good health as a base. And so when you take Emulin, anything else, particularly the exceptional product Fixed, is able to work even better than it could by itself, because your body is struggling constantly. We are constantly bombarded with inflammatory insults. And they're not saying something's going to kill you overnight, but you know, just under fluorescent lights and the electrical signals, radio waves, all together they are really causing health issues. Exhaust gas, we try to get pure air, you know, but even the off gas of building materials. We're living in a modern world, and we are constantly under attack, and we are all running a low-grade inflammation. I'm certain of it. And so in order to combat that, something like Emulin, when it suppresses that and manages the inflammation in your body then can respond to Fix much better than Fix could on its own. And I've seen that. Take either one of them, take them together, you get it. It's a synergy there. So this is why it's called Emulin 5. This is its long history, 15 years. It's been exciting. I think we're probably going to find out some new things about it in the next year or two. It's a good journey, but you know, everybody needs these products. Everybody needs Emulin 5. Everybody needs Emulin. A young developing baby, we say as soon as the child is weaned, it's time you can put it right into their food. Oh, actually, for my granddaughter and all, we just break up a capsule and put it in her grape juice, and she sips that throughout the day instead of having to try to worry about the micro dose her. And then when you're adolescent, you absolutely need it as you're developing all these tissues, new parts, changes of your life. And then when you are young adults and you're getting ready to make a family and babies, you absolutely need it. Then you get into middle age. Well, your body really changes in your 40s to 50s, and your whole metabolism changes, particularly the carbohydrate metabolism. So you need it then. And now when you're in old age, for your body to help repair itself, you need Emulin.
So, Dr. Ahrens, I just want to intervene just there, just to make sure that we stay compliant in that space, that when we're talking about anybody under the age of 18, obviously they're going to be guided by what their parents' decisions are, and that's something that their parent has to make that decision for them. So I just want to intervene there and make sure that we do that. Before I hand it across to Dr. Kareem, so my friend, do you want to come on and please ask Dr. Ahrens what you would like to, please?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hi. Okay. Thank you, Jackie, for inviting me. Dr. Joseph Ahrens, it is such a pleasure. I met you in Vegas, and you and I and my father, who's an internal medicine doctor, we just had a great conversation. But you already touched
Yes.
on one of the questions that I was going to ask, which was type 3 diabetes. And you explained how insulin resistance, in particularly in the brain, is a critical factor for the development of dementia. And I was going to ask you to talk about that. So I'm going to pivot here, and I'm going to ask the question that everyone asks me. And that's basically, it's going to be about it being safe. And so very simply, most people come to me because they know I'm a pharmacist, and they ask me, is this safe to take with current medications? Are there any known drug interactions with Emulin? Is there anything you would stay away from, you would caution? And they ask me about the side effects. Those are the three things that people come to me with. And so my question is, to be clear, that when someone says they want to use this for their blood sugar, inflammation, all of the different benefits, how can I effectively check, instead of what I've been doing is doing all the individual ingredients, how can I effectively say to them with confidence that this is something that you need to add into your diet and that it's safe because A, B, and C? How would you respond to that?
Well, of course, that's what we want to know ourselves right away. And there are, at various times, have been some major corporations that were wanting to use this, and some products that you would recognize. And I can't mention them, but you would easily recognize, and they are scared to death of there being any issue like that. So we have done from the very beginning as thorough research and study as we could, and no one, not just myself, but the hundreds and thousands of doctors that have researched flavonoids, these three flavonoids, which they're right on the patents. I can tell you what they are. The myricetin, which comes from dark grapes, chlorogenic acid, which currently we're getting out of green coffee bean. It's not caffeine. It's just chlorogenic acid, and uh, the quercetin. Quercetin is comes out of anything Lily's family, like onions and any Lily thing. Yeah, onions. That's number one. Garlic. Good examples. Garlic. So there is no known literature, thorough, and now with computers now, boy, when we started this back, there were no computers. You remember those days? I think you do. You couldn't, you had to get these little books and look up all these different research papers. Now you can just plug it in, boom, and look at tens and tens and hundreds of thousands, and there's no known drug interaction. And so we know exactly what these chemicals are. It's not like it's just It's not like garlic extract, you know, or grape. We call it like grape extract, but there's no grapes in it. It's the pure chemical, and so we know all the interactions, and there are no known interaction. The only one that we are known is not a drug interaction, but the quercetin will lower your blood pressure, and it's good because, and we're not using a lot of quercetin. This is the least of all the three in there. Quercetin is the smallest amount, but just for safety, if you're going to get surgery, stop taking this product a week ahead. Just like doctors will tell you, don't eat garlic and onions a week before surgery because it tends to make you bleed too much. It actually makes the capillaries very flexible, permeable. There was an attempt back in the 50s to make some of these flavonoids a vitamin, and they called it vitamin P for permeability. But that is just that's the only thing we know about, and even that is not a fear. But if just to be in an abundance of caution, there's doctors say don't take any onions and garlic right before surgery because it helps your capillaries become very permeable. Most of us have high blood pressure, and so it's excellent for us. But I would just caution somebody that had chronic low blood pressure. So that's not a drug interaction, but a chronic blood pressure. You should talk to your physician about that. The other two, there's completely no interaction known at all.
Thank you. That was my question.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Karim. So, Dr. Bowers, are you there? Would you like to actually unmute yourself? There we go.
Good evening, Jackie. Hi, Dr. Joe. Good seeing you again. Couple things. First of all, I want to kind of touch on some things. Of all the stuff that I have studied on everything you have done and put together and how Emulin works, I pretty much identified it down to what I call 7 different major pathways or metabolic pathways that we see as the greatest benefit of all the things you have in there. And I want to touch on 2 of them, if you will, real quick for me. And the first thing is in the glucose absorption out of the GI tract and even out of the blood supply into the muscles for energy. I have found so much of that on using this on patients over the years that we're actually decreasing the demand load inside the circulatory system and going to the adipose tissue, and we're forcing it into muscles. Can you touch on that? Give me a little bit more benefit of that or understanding of that, if you could, please.
Yeah, so it's not actually forcing it, but it's just because of a concentration gradient. So the glucose transporters are like doors. They're like revolving doors. There's like 5 or 6 different parts and subunits, but they're almost like a little revolving door. And as you build up sugar in your gut, the sugar there's an active transport, and it goes through this door, and it ends up in the bloodstream.
Right.
Glucose transporter 2 is the one that is in the gut lining. It's actually right in the villi, the lining of the intestine. Now, myricetin does not block it, so it's not a blocker. There are some drugs that block these transporters, and that's a terrible thing. It just slows it down. Gets in the way, so that the transport of the sugar across that membrane is slow and regulated, and it doesn't spike. So when you get a spike, boom, then other problems happen, and you get a flood, of insulin, etc. So you get a gradual release of sugar into the bloodstream. Now, and then that's an inhibition, but glucose transporter 4 is a stimulation. It's completely the other way around, and it's a combination of myricetin and quercetin that cause an increase in the number of transporters. So that's how it works. It doesn't actually speed up the doorway. It just causes more translation and transcription, and you end up with more glucose transporter 4s in the cell membrane. This is also similar to how the insulin sensitivity works, is that you have more or less glucose transporter 4s on the membrane. So you think about, well, how can you become insulin insensitive? Get rid of the glucose transporters. So you have insulin In the presence of glucose, insulin turns those doors on. Well, what if there's no doors? That's how your body becomes insulin insensitive.
Right.
And
You call those the fontanelles when they got imploded in the glutes, right? That's
yeah,
great.
so you end up right out of your DNA, you end up making more transporters. That's how that works. So you get more glucose 4s and you get an inhibition of glucose 2. And that difference helps you take that in, because where are those glucose 4? They're in the muscle. They're in brain and muscle. That's where they are.
Right.
And the glucose 2 is in fat tissue. Glucose 2 is in your gut and fat tissue. And I guess it's just luck how that worked out.
And that's kind of to my second point, just some observational things I've seen, having watched so many patients and clients on the fix and all the things that happen, and then we actually got the Emulin 5 out before we got the fit. And what I found was that, and I love how you brought this up earlier, talking about the adipose tissue itself in the endocrine system actually makes sugar, and so when you decrease it, it's going to make that. And we started seeing a few of the people as we were actually breaking down that adipose tissue and getting rid of that, whether we go to the flush technique or the swoosh technique, all these things were filling back up. That all of a sudden, when I put Emulin with it, it flushed all those things. And all of a sudden, we had increase in the ability to burn that fat. And now adding fit to it, we even have a better. So I have that stack in my stack that we're actually doing the Emulin 5, 1 to 3 times a day. Plus, we're doing the fix a couple times a day, and then the fit a couple times a day. And I've had some of the greatest benefit with those 3 products together. So I just want to bring that up. Everything that I have studied on the Emulin 5, it is a great product. And I love how you said it's a standalone product. It doesn't matter almost per age. Everybody needs that aspect of it. So I just want to applaud you for that and thank you for it. Thanks, man. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bowers. So Dr. Lynn McDonald, would you mind coming on for us, please? What a brilliant
hello.
Hello, and I know it's very late for you, so I will let you all the way from Scotland. It's wee hours of the morning, so
It's honestly a pleasure to be on here. I wouldn't miss it. So I'm bright alert right now. So thank you for having me. Doctor, thank you so much for coming on here on your actual birthday. And first of all, you've answered a lot of my potential questions already. In particular, it's wonderful to know that if, say, someone had, for example, an onion allergy, they don't need to be worrying because it's not the actual onion that's in there. It's just the isolated extract from the onion. Is that correct? Have I got that right?
Yeah, you've got that right. So even you could even give this stuff to dogs because they shouldn't have grapes. Well, there's no grapes in this product. It's just it's just like if you said, let's say vitamin C is a good example. So it doesn't matter. There's no orange in vitamin C unless you did a really terrible extraction, And so you just make it.
Okay.
It's a pure extraction. There's no onion. There's no coffee. There's no caffeine. There's no grapes in these products.
Brilliant to know.
Even though they came for those food sources.
Yeah. So I'm fascinated because I agree with you. You can't out supplement a bad lifestyle. So very much so, I'm an advocate for keeping carbs down low generally, and know a lot of people in the carnivore community. And to explain that is they actually don't eat plants. They just eat animal fat and animal protein or eggs or such related products. But I'm still thinking they would get quite a lot of benefit from Emulin 5 added in because we've got damage over years to reverse. Can you just tell me your thoughts on that, please?
About the carnivore diet?
Yes.
And Emulin?
Yes, please. How does that align? Because what I'm seeing is that for 6 years of being in the carnivore space, I then added in fix and was blown away with how much extra benefit there was. And I'm thinking that the reason is because of years and years and years of built up damage in the human body, and then you try a new thing. And I'm thinking, well, maybe Fix was just a little push over to provide even more benefits. So I'm thinking, well, Emulin 5 as well, on top of these two things, is really interesting to me because there's still some people who are not getting that much benefit from cutting out carbs out of their diet and being really strict with it.
Well, I'm actually a paleo person myself.
Okay.
Just seems to make enough sense to me because I'm a physiologist, and I say, okay, let's look at the enzymes we've got in our body. What do you think we ought to be eating? Look at it from the other direction. If so,
Sure.
and they're there to digest certain foods, and so I think it's a personal decision. First of all, I'm not going to say do or don't do that. I'm a paleo person, and people don't understand what that is. It's basically trying to look back at what called the caveman diet. What did we eat before we got organized agriculture and started taking all these dense sugars and overdeveloped fruits, and where you've got 10 times more sugar and 1/10 the vitamins that you had just 100 years ago. What is it? What a natural diet? What did that look like? And so I put together what I thought, and it came close to what's called a paleo or a caveman diet. And so I do think that you should have some plants, and that you would be getting, particularly, some time ago, you would have been getting Emulin because the first thing you would have gotten is all these little tiny wild black berries, natural blueberries as you're just going through. Because look, you're not picky. It's food. You eat it. You just eat whatever
Sure.
you can. You'd eat leaves. If it didn't taste good, you spit it out, but you would eat everything you could. And bugs and worms and all that stuff too. But particularly, you eat a lot of these black dark berries, and so that's where they would get the Emulin from. That's Emulin. It's coming from the dark berries. So, but I can appreciate the carnivore diet. Yes, you know what? You have a lot of refuse, garbage in your body, and some can stay for years. Yeah, it's fact we do turn over our cells constantly. Some cells last a few days, and some last, a year or so. But uh, there's some stuff in your body that's there for your whole life. It's still garbage gets in there, and these products, particularly together, help get rid of those. It's almost like a purge that goes
Yeah.
on. And actually, it gets into even tattoos. I've had people say that their tattoos might fade by
Oh,
taking the Emulin, because
okay.
tattoo is very interesting because
Yeah.
it should be gone, but it's not there. It's a constant inflammatory reaction that tattoo causes. Yeah.
Yes. It's held in the macrophages underneath the skin, isn't it? So I'll not be wanting to put my son on that because he loves his tattoos. Can I just ask another question? You'd mentioned the gut-brain axis, and that completely fascinates me. And are you just to elaborate on what you'd said, because I think you'd said there was a certain neurotransmitter that is taken up the vagus nerve, travels up to the brain. Um, which which neurotransmitter was that you were talking about? And is there
Okay.
anywhere we can read research? Because I love reading papers.
All right. So I just read this paper last week, or maybe 10 days ago, and they have not identified the specific neurotransmitter. It was just in their soup of transmitters that they had isolated, and they're still working on it. They went ahead and published the paper, and they're still working to isolate which neurotransmitter it is. But they know it is within this family. And, I can look for that paper because I saved it. And if I can get your contact information, I can send it to you.
That's wonderful. I'll give it to Jackie. I really, really appreciate that because I'm a sucker for information. So very excited to share this product. I've just given it to my mum because she has rheumatoid arthritis actually. So let's hope she gets some benefit. And thank you for everything that you do. It's fascinating. It really fascinates me, your work. And been a pleasure to get to ask you questions directly myself.
Thank you so much,
You know, we
Dr.
had
Lynn.
all right. Thank you.
Sorry. So sorry. Can I just actually ask Alison Beeler if you can come on next? We're just trying to get through a couple of other people, Dr. Ahrens. Hi, Alison. How are you?
Hey, friends, how are you?
Very good. I will hand it over to you.
Awesome. Hey, thank you, Dr. Ahrens, for doing this because I learned way more than I ever did about Emulin. I always pick up something new, so I appreciate that. I'm an herbalist out here in Ohio, and so you did actually answer quite a few of my questions. But one of my nurse practitioner friends asked me to ask you this. So she states, "What was the dose frequency in the studies? Would there still be a benefit in only taking the recommended dose, which is 2 a day?"
Okay, that is a good question, and I did mean to mention something like that. So that's based on a human equivalent dose. We did rat studies. We actually didn't mention that rat study, but these were type 1 diabetic rats. We had shot them up and completely destroyed they had no functioning pancreas, and we started giving them what we now call Emulin. This was back we were given a bunch of flavonoids and did specific flavonoids and combination of flavonoids, and this is how we came up with the formula of what we're using now in Emulin. And then we did a human dose equivalent, and also taking into account that it's not very bioavailable, and we wanted to do a saturation in your body. And so we came up with around 500, 750 milligrams, set it on 500 milligrams on an average person. Now, that is not going to work for everybody because some people it's even less bioavailable, just the way that works. Maybe their bacteria gobble it up quicker. That's very possible. So I tell people if they're having some issue that they want to address, again, not a disease you're trying to treat, but say your body's struggling with something and you want to support it in that area of health. Well, take a handful, take 6, take 10, and then start cutting back. As soon as you notice a change, start cutting back until you find that point that works for you. And it could be even less than 2. Well, we've had one MD that told me he just gets by great with 1. That's fine. I don't want you to take more than you need. But the 2 does okay. And then also the length. Some people will notice a difference in, like, say, 4 days. But others might take 30 days. And I don't know why that 30-day difference, but that is what I have seen, that people have said, it's not working, it's not working, it's not working. And then all of a sudden, day 31, wow, I woke up this morning and my blood's 100. It was 250, and I haven't yet been able
because
to
they
find
stayed
that
on
out.
just maybe do you think that's just maybe because they stayed on the 2 a day and it took them longer? Because when you say
Yeah,
that,
they do.
tell somebody to take like a handful and then work backwards, how long would you like? What is your expected or average response rate to somebody finding the correct dosage for them? Like for myself,
Okay.
like or like a side effect of bloating. That was one of the other questions I had. Quite a few people have bloated when they first started taking just the 2 a day. And with that, how important is this to take it before eating?
All right. The easiest one to answer as far as the effect is I can point to blood sugar. You'll see it affect in 4 days.
Okay.
If you're measuring your blood sugar, so that's something, you don't have to guess. You can just measure your blood sugar and you're going to see a change in 4 days. And so most things, I believe that's where it's going to happen in a 4 to 5 day. The half-life is 7 days in your bloodstream. So, I mean, don't cheat on that and take some every 3.5 days, but that's not how it works. But the half-life is 7. So that's why I say go a week if you're going to worry about some surgery. To go a week and you'll get half of it out. That'll be plenty. So yes, you get the bloating because as I said, and I didn't know at the time, it's the favorite food of these bacteria. And they, just like with change of any drastic, it's a drastic change to them to have this show up in the food. So You bloat because of the bacteria. Your body's not doing any of that. It's the bacteria that are causing that. They do not only gas but water retention. Directly affected by these organisms affect that. So, actually, Jackie has the best information on dosage of anyone on the planet. Now, me personally, I take 2 a day. But if I'm going to be traveling and I'm in an airplane and know I'm going to be get insulted, that's the word we use for attacked. I take 5 or 6 while I'm traveling, but I don't take that every day, and I don't have any trouble, any issues with my stomach or at all with these products. Some people do, but Jackie takes like 2 handfuls at a time or whatever. Anyway, that's the best I
So
can
when
answer.
somebody's having a reaction with bloating, that's after they take the Emulin. You're referring to that as the fact that it's the bacteria
Yeah.
from the product actually helping the bacteria to move through. And since you're saying you take handfuls, is it not important to take it before you eat for other things, not just for the
Okay.
chiropractic?
It will have a definite effect on the food that you eat. It can, if you're taking it right before you eat, it can reduce up to 1/3 of the effective calories. It will stop the conversion of starch into sugar. It'll knock it down 30%. So effectively, you have less calories, but those calories will eventually be eaten up in your intestine by those bacteria, but you won't go into your bloodstream directly right away. So if you're worried about that, yeah, you can see a difference if you take it right before eating. And then those people that do have maybe a sensitive stomach, they could take it with food just to dilute the effects. But you don't have to take it with food, because once you start taking it like a day, I said 7-day half-life, then you just maintain a saturated level in your blood and it doesn't matter.
Awesome. Thank you. I have a girl that just pops them open because she doesn't have time to wait before she eats. So she opens a capsule in her mouth and swallows them. Like, you're brave, sister.
They're bitter.
Anyway,
That's bitter. It's
she
like, it
said,
tastes like aspirin. Tastes like aspirin.
okay. Yeah. She said she just swishes it with water. She don't care. But anyway, thank you so much for taking the time to answer my questions and everybody else's here. I have really gotten to know a lot about this product, and I really think it's more than what we all think it is. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Alison. Dr. Ahrens, I've got another lady, a naturopath here in Australia that I'd like to bring on board, which is actually Mona. Mona Heck, if you wouldn't mind coming on, that would be great. You can just unmute yourself, and then I've got one more question to ask after this, and we'll wrap it up. So you're able to unmute yourself, Mona? Hopefully we've got her. Or what we might do, actually, you might be able to
I'm here.
Are you there? There we go.
Yeah, thanks,
How are
Jackie.
you?
Appreciate it.
pleasure.
Thank you, Dr. Joe. It's been really interesting speaking with you. I just have a very brief question with regard to the grapefruit extract that you speak about, which, I've known for many years how wonderful it is for weight management for many people. But grapefruit is contraindicated for people who are on any sort of contraception or birth control. Would that apply to the grapefruit extract that is present in Emulin 5? Is that going to be an issue?
No, it's not an issue, because we don't, first of all, use any grapefruit at all in the product, even extracting the flavonoids. We don't use grapefruit as a source, number one. And then number two, there is not actually a such thing as a grapefruit drug interaction. It's actually you have a chemical, CYP4 chemical in your bloodstream that when it sees a drug, a synthetic drug like a birth control pill or anything like that, or some of these, and several drugs, it actually destroys them. It's like a little vacuum cleaner in the bloodstream, and it's there to get rid of these foreign materials. Well, grapefruit, there's a chemical in a grapefruit that slows that down. So you end up having an overdose of in your bloodstream, and then that messes up. So if it's a hormone treatment, that completely messes up the balance there. And if it's and so you end up having too much of the drug in your bloodstream. That is what's going on with grapefruit, and we actually know exactly the chemical in grapefruit that causes that. But We don't even use grapefruit as we did originally the first time we did it. Yes, that's 15 years ago. But now we use dark grapes or something related to dark grapes. Actually, there's a product in Australia I think we're using for the Maricitin. And then we use green coffee bean, decaffeinated green coffee beans to get the chlorogenic acid, and we use onion peel to get the quercetin.
Okay, great. Thank you. Isn't it crazy that we tell people to stop eating whole foods because they're on a medication? It's pretty nuts.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Mona. I really appreciate you coming on and being a part of this. And I wanted to bring Lillian Reiki on because Lillian had a specific question. So how are you, my friend?
Hey, Jackie. Hey, Dr. Joe. Unlike all of the other lovely people who have asked questions, I'm not a practitioner. So my question to you, Dr. Joe, is as a layperson, this product is so amazing and does so many things and has so many, great functions. So what would be your elevator pitch or like a brief, okay, so I've got this product and I'm wanting to tell a friend about it, or I might even want to tell a practitioner about it. What would be a brief kind of non too techie, scientific-y, doctory kind of way of explaining briefly, hey guy, you need to take this product because, or like a general, do you know what I'm saying? Like a general spiel about it that's not too complicated for us non-medical people.
Yeah. I would say that it's just use an analogy of a vitamin. This product is essential for sugar metabolism and regulation of the inflammatory pathway. If as people understand the gut brain axis, I would start leaning into that. But right now, that's really very new, and it just leads to confusion to some people. But that is really going to be the future. So just say it's a vitamin that is essential for sugar metabolism and to regulate inflammation. And everyone is under low-grade inflammation, whether they like it or not. You cannot avoid it. And I'm sure you know that. Most everybody have a feeling that that is true. And without this, your body is constantly under inflammation and it's breaking down. This is just like a vitamin. You can't say it is a vitamin. Can't say it anymore. That was outlawed in 1997, by the way. The FDA, the US FDA, and Europe said that we will no longer discover any new vitamins. If we do, they must be registered as a drug. Okay, there you go. There are a lot of vitamins yet to be discovered, but we can no longer allow to sell them. But you can sell them as supplements, and that's what we're doing. So it's just like a vitamin, just like vitamin C. Everyone needs it, from developing babies, well, some countries you can't say that. All adults need this, just like a vitamin.
Awesome.
And
Thank you.
the first thing that most people notice is that they feel like they woke up from a fog, and they didn't even know it. They didn't know that they were foggy.
Wonderful. No, that keeps it nice and simple. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you, Jackie.
Thanks so much, Lillian. Dr. Ahrens, I just want to thank you so much. I want to thank each and every one of the panelists that have come on here this evening, but most importantly, for everyone that's given up their time from all over the world in different time zones. You, my friend, have always been a saving grace for so many. And I know that you don't like to have us say that to you, but what you've brought into the hands of people is a gift. It's a gift of health. And you giving up your time today, I just want to thank you from a friend, from a business perspective as well, but most importantly, just for what you are giving to people all over the world. Is there anything that you'd like to just finish up with today before we go?
I really appreciate people being on here and help spread this word. You know, I've been working for years. As long as it took us to develop it, it's taken just that much longer to get it into the marketplace. And it's just about spreading that knowledge of what this product is. And they take this product, you know, they won't ever get off of it. And I'm very thankful that it's, again, being manufactured.
Absolutely, Dr. Ahrens. We're just so grateful to have that union with MPG, with Randy and Kathy Teinhardt and Mr. Yap. We believe we found the perfect home. And as we allude into that, I believe you are a man on a mission, and I think we would like to close on that note. So thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you.
Definitely a man on a mission, and happy birthday, my friend.
The knees of my jeans are torn. Sweat coming through my shirt. Keep pushing even though it hurts. I'm chasing what I know is true. There's nothing that I would not do. When everyone around me drops, I'm never gonna ever stop.
Thank you, everybody.
Won't waste another minute, no, I won't. I'm a man.